Good afternoon, students. Today we will see the idea behind object-oriented programming. This is in C++. So, object-oriented programming means OOPS concept is the most modern way of organizing programs. Here, the emphasis is given on the way programs are designed. In particular, OOPS programs are organized around the objects, which contain both data and functions that act on the data. The idea is that when a programmer is given a new problem, the decomposition process that initially takes place in the terms of the object found in the problem. These objects can be classified into different groupings called access classes, and these classes can be analyzed to the determine. Then benefits of OOPS concept. So benefits of OOPS approaches has a lot many advantages over other the programming approaches. Here are some of them inside below. First one is OOPS treats the data as an important element in the program development and doesn't allow to be the accessible by any user. Thus, it protects data from accidental modification from outside the world. This is achieved through data hiding. Second is the OOPS allows us to decompose a complex program into number of entities called object and then build data and functions around these entities. Here, different objects may communicate with each other and through the function. Then third one is using encapsulation. It is easier to view the actual data and associated function, allowing us to get more details of a model. Encapsulation is collection of data and functions together. Then inheritance. Inheritance means it provides the software reusability, code saving, and extending use of existing classes. Then polymorphism. Through polymorphism, same with the thing can be implemented in slightly different manner, providing more flexibility in the design. Then features of OOPS. Programs are divided into objects and different objects communicate with each other through messages called the methods. The second one, emphasis is given on data rather than the procedure. Third one is data is hiding and can't be accessed or altered by external functions. Then fourth one, functions operating on data of an object are encapsulated, tied together in single data structure called as the class. Then new data and functions can be easily added whenever it necessary. Sixth one is the follows bottom-up approach in program design. Then we also see in the C++ syntax, what is constant, what is data type, like that. Then what is meant by pass by value, pass by reference, default parameter value. What is the how the call a function, then declared a function are not executed immediately. They are saved for a later use and we will execute later whether they are called. A call a function write a function's name followed by the two parentheses in the bracket and a semicolon. In the following example, my function is used to print a text and the action when it is called. Then example is what? Hash include IOStream using namespace standard, void main function in curly bracket, there is cout, I just got the executed. Then integer main, my function, return 0. Output is what? I just got executed. Then function declaration and definition. This point also see. So see the what is meant by declaration? The function's name, return type and parenthesis if any. Then definition is what? The body of the function code to be executed. The note is what? If a user-defined function such as my function is declared after the main function, an error will occur. It is because C++ works from the top to bottom approach, which means that if the function is not declared above, that is main function, the program is unaware of it. So firstly define and declare a function and after that call a function in main function. Then what is meant by parameters and arguments? Information can be passed to a function as a parameter. Parameters act as an variable inside the function. Then parameters are specified after the function name and inside the parenthesis. You can add as an many parameters as you want. Just separate them with a comma operator. See the syntax here. Void function name, then parameter, comma, parameter 2, then parameter 3. Then code to be executed. Curly bracket complete. The following example has a function that takes a string called the fname as a parameter. When the function is called, we pass along a first name, which is used inside the function to print the full name. See the example, hash include parameters, hash include IOStream, hash include string, then using namespace standard, void main function, string fname, cout, fname, then reference /n, bracket complete, integer main, my function, yam, my function Jenny, and my function Anja. So output is what? Yam reference, Jenny reference, and Anja reference. Then default parameter also we have seen and multiple parameters also seen in last lecture. Return value. The void keyword used in the previous example indicates that the function should not return a value. If you want to function to return a value, you can use a data type such as integer, string, etc. instead of void, and use the return keyword inside the function. Then example is hash include iostream using namespace standard integer my function integer x, then curly bracket return 5 plus x return semicolon, then complete the curly bracket integer main see out my function parameter given is 3 return 0. So here return 5 plus x, x ची व्हॅल्यू काय दिली इथं पॅरामीटर काय पास केला आहे 3. सो इथं x ची व्हॅल्यू काय घेणार 3. सो आउटपुट इज 8. Then object oriented terms and concepts. So what is mean by object? Objects are the physical and conceptual things we find in the universe around us. Hardware, software, documents, human beings, and even concepts are all examples on a object. So for example, what? Script writer, financer, actor, actress, sport boy, a software engine would consider stack, queues, windows, and checkboxes as objects. They are called as a runtime entity in object-oriented system. They are also called as the class type entities. They are even called as an instance of a class, and they are used to the access members of the classes. Then what is meant by class? A class is a user data type. A class is a user defined data type that we can use in our program, and it works as an object constructor or a blueprint for creating objects. Create a class. To create a class, use the keyword. For example, create a class called my class. Class my class in curly bracket public integer my num semicolon string my string semicolon curly bracket complete and semicolon after closing the class. Here first line, the class keyword is used to create a class called the my class. Then the public keyword and access specifier, which specifies that member attributes and methods of the class are accessible from outside the class. You will learn more about access specifiers later. Inside the class, there is an integer variable my num and a string variable my string. When variables are declared within a class, they are called the attributes. At last, end the class definition with a semicolon. Then, how to create an object? In C++, an object is created from a class when we already created the class name my class So now we can use this create the object. To create an object of my class, specify the class name followed by the object name. To access the class attributes my_num and my_string, use the dot syntax on the object. For example, create an object called the myObject and access the attributes. Then class myClass, public integer my_num, string my_string, semicolon, then integer main function in curly bracket, my class object, create an object of my class, then access attributes and set the values. My object dot my_num equal to 15, my object dot my_string equal to some text. Then print attribute values. Cout my object my_num, cout my object my_string, return 0, semicolon complete. So our output is 15. Some text. Then creating a multiple objects. Then see the next point, class methods. Methods are functions that belongs to the class. There are two ways to define the functions that belongs to a class inside a class definition, outside the definition. In the following example, we define a function inside the class and we name it my method. Then note, you can methods just like you access attributes by creating an object of the class and by using the dot syntax. Then inside the example, class my class public void method, then cout hello world, then one curly bracket complete and second curly bracket complete and semicolon. Then integer main my class my object, create an object of my class, then my object dot my method, call the method, then return 0. So what is our method? Because of here calling the method. Then hello world. Then what is meant by constructor? Have you seen in last lecture? Yes. A constructor in a C++ is a special method that is automatically called when an object of a class is created. To create a constructor, use the same name as the class followed by the parenthesis. For example, hash include iostream using namespace standard class my class. This is the class. Then public, this is the access specifier. Then my class bracket is the constructor in curly bracket. Hello world is there. Then one curly bracket complete and another class is complete, and after that there is a semicolon. Then integer main function, my class dot my object, create an object of my class. This will call the constructor. Then return 0. So output is what? Hello world, because my class dot my object. So my class काय आहे? My class मध्ये cout काय आहे? Hello world. So access specifiers. By now you are quite familiar with the public keyword that appears in all of our class examples. Okay. So example class, my class, the class, then public, this is the access specifier, then class members goes here. This is the functions or program. Then close the my class semicolon. The public keyword is an access specifier. Access specifiers defines how the members, attributes and methods of a class can be accessed in the example. Then the members are public, which means that they can be accessed and modified from outside the code. However, what if we want members to be to be private and hidden from the outside world? In C++, there are three access specifiers. First is the public. Its members are accessible from outside the class. Then private. Private means its members cannot be accessed for a viewed from the outside the class. Then protected. Protected members cannot be accessed from the outside the class. However, it can be accessed in the inherited classes. You will learn more about the inheritance later. In the following example, we can demonstrate the difference between public and private members.
सब लिखना पड़ता है. मैंने नोटपैड से करी थी, नोटपैड से हुआ.
Then what is encapsulation? The meaning of encapsulation is the make sure that the sensitive data is hidden from the user. To achieve this, you must declare classes, variables or attributes as as private cannot be the access from the outside the classes. If you want to other to read or modify the value of private members, you can provide public get and set methods. Then access provide members to access a private attribute, use the public get and set method. See the example, hash include IOStream, then class employee, private attribute int salary, then public setter void set salary integer s, salary is equal to s. Then getter, in the get salary return salary. Then class close semicolon integer function employee my object dot set salary is 50,000. Then see out my object dot get salary return 0 curly bracket complete. So output is what? 50,000. So why encapsulation? It is considered good practice to be declared your class attribute as private as often as you can. Encapsulation ensures better control of your data because you or others can change one part of the code without affecting other parts. Increase security of data. That's why we are using encapsulation. Then inheritance. In the C++, it is possible to inherit attributes and methods from the one class to the another class. We group the inheritance concept into two categories, derived class and base class. So what is meant by derived class or child class? The class that inherits from the another class. Then base class is the class being inherited from, is known as what? Base class. To inherit from a class, use the symbols in the example below. The car class child inherits the attributes and methods from the vehicle class pattern. Why and when we use the inheritance? It is useful for code reusability. Reuse attributes and methods of an existing class when you create a new class. See the for example, see here base class, class vehicles in curly bracket, public string brand is equals to Ford. Void honk see out 22. Then slash n derived class, class car, public vehicle, public string model equals to Mustang. Class complete semicolon. Integer main car, my car dot honk, see out my car dot brand. Then plus double quote plus my car dot model return 0. First is what? My car dot brand. So what is brand? Ford. But what is, see out here, 22 and Ford, then Mustang. Then multi-level inheritance, multiple inheritance, then polymorphism. Polymorphism means what? It means the many forms, and it occurs when we have many classes that are related to the each other by inheritance, like we specified in the previous chapter, inheritance. Let us inheritance attributes and methods from another class. Polymorphism uses those methods to perform a different task. This allows us to perform a single action in different ways. For example, think of a base class called the animal that has a method called the animal sound. Derived class of animal could be pigs, cats, dogs, birds, and they also have their own implementation of animal sounds. The pig oinks and the cat meows, etc. Then example of polymorphism. Then constructor and types of constructor. Constructor means what? A constructor is an operation that has the ability to change the set of an object. The initialize to the object takes place using the special function called the constructor. It is called when you instantiate an object. The constructor is a function whose name is the same as the class with no return type. It having the two types. First is what? Default constructor and second is parameterized constructor. डिफॉल्ट मध्ये काय असतं की कुठलाच पॅरामीटर नसतो आणि पॅरामीटराइज कन्स्ट्रक्टर मध्ये एखादा पॅरामीटर पास केलेला असतो. Then destructor. What is meant by destructor? A destructor is a member function that is invoked automatically when the object goes out the scope or is explicitly destroyed by a call to delete. A destructor has the same name as the class preceded by a tilde sign. For example, the destroyed constructor for a class string is declared tilde string colon. Bracket open and close. If you want to do not define a destructor, then the compiler will provide a default one for many classes. This is sufficient. You only need to define a customer destructor when the class stores then you only need to define a custom destructor when the class stores handles to the system resources that needs to be released or pointers that own the memory. They point to the considered the following declaration or a string class. This is the constructor and destructor point. Then files, classes of stream, if stream, f stream. So what is meant by of stream? This is the creates and writes to file. Then if stream means reads from the file. Then f stream means a combination of stream and if stream, creates the reads and writes to a file. So this is end of our C++. Your exam will soon start. So study hard and any doubt ask me. Okay. All the best guys. Thank you.